it's very difficult to orange pill somebody. It's a lot of work, and a lot of people aren't willing to put in the work, and there's no way around the work. And I noticed my military buddies are much more apt at adopting Bitcoin. Like, I was an annoyance to them for a long time, but these are guys who, particularly the pilots, like Jethro, we're used to the fire hose effect, right? It's like, here's this huge thing about this aircraft. You're going to learn how to build this aircraft, and then you're going to learn how to fly it, and then you're going to learn the weapon systems. By the way, the weapon systems are always being updated. And by the way, now you're an instructor, and you're going to have to learn it and teach it to everybody. And then you're going to have to figure out how to make it better so that we can send it back to the engineer. And it's like, holy crap, it's a ton of work, and those guys are used to it. So when you give them, I would always send them, what's the gentleman's name? Joe Bryan, What's the Problem? Mm-hmm. Awesome, right? Because if you don't know there's a problem, then you're not looking for a solution. And many, many people don't know there's a problem at all. They're just living their life head down, they're the hamster on the wheel, trying to make more money. And now my wife's got to go to work, all that stuff that we always talk about. But that's what I send them first. And then I send them God Bless Bitcoin. I'm like, these are just high level. Just watch this. Just do me a favor, watch this. And then I send them, to your credit, I always send them to the Sailor series.
Mm-hmm. Do they listen? I've tried like 40 times to get someone to listen to the Sailor series. I've been unsuccessful.
So my Wall Street buddies don't. They think I'm crazy and you don't understand how the system works. I'm like, I actually do better than you do.
So they're the same from the Wall Street guys. They're arrogant as fuck. It's unbelievable.
They are. And they don't, the truth of the matter is, and I don't want to disparage their jobs. These guys are very successful and they're very, I guess, hardworking, but they don't, somebody hands them a sheet. Mm-hmm. Here's the, you know, the TLDR on this stock or this bond or whatever. And they go out and there's no real ton of work put in to understand the mechanisms. Mm-hmm. By the way, I don't even know if you could. I graduated. I did work towards an MBA, and I got my my degree in accounting and finance from Villanova. I never once learned about banks and central banks and nothing. Yeah. Right. So how would you know unless you did it on your own? And stuff that like macroeconomics didn't make sense to me. Yeah. That guy we were talking about earlier. Like, I get it. I can regurgitate this on a test and get an A, but it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But maybe I'm 21 and not 19. Maybe I just don't know enough. And then when you see stuff like long-term capital management, 2000, 2008, you go, wait a second. Something's going on here that I don't understand. I'm going to go try to understand it. And then you read things like Human Action and all the books you have here, and you go, okay, you know, the Austrian school, I'm starting to figure this stuff out. And at the time I was a big gold and silver guy. I'm like, okay, if shit goes sideways here, at least I have a bearer asset that is a store of value and all that. And then Bitcoin came along, and but I'm going off on a tangent, but my fighter pilot guys are willing to put in the work, and they've all been orange pill. Matter of fact, I don't know if you're going out to the Bitcoin Alpha event. A lot of those guys are coming out. Got the commander of the Indo-Pacific who's like, I get it, super smart guy, photographic memory, he gets it. And then my traditional Wall Street guys are just like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And by the way, the stock market's up 30%. What are you talking about? I'm like, okay, good luck.
So the military guys that do the work, you send them down that path. You said, what's the problem? God Bless Bitcoin Sailor series. They do the whole thing.
And then Jeff Booth series, your Jeff Booth series. Okay, and then it's just like, I pepper them. And some of them will be like, dude, knock it off. You know, I'm not interested. Some of them, a lot of them are like, keep it coming, man.
Wow.
And because they're used to that level of work, whereas the other guys, to a large extent, aren't used to it.
Is there a crossing point where you see a lot of people getting orange pilled?
In my life?
Or in that little prescription you give people? Like, are you seeing a lot of people convert? I've heard a lot of people after the Sailor series like, oh my God, that's what orange pilled me. So I'm just curious if that's been successful for you.
It's been highly effective, but this is where you get into personality types.
Yeah, sure.
And we've talked about this a bunch on Spaces, the Myers-Briggs personality types. It's very, very concentrated into INTP, ENTP. INTJ, right? Intuitive, or I don't.
Intuitive, introverted, intuitive thinking, judging.
Yes.
Mine, I'm INTJ.
Yeah, and we're basically somewhere around 3% of the population. So we're the ones who, when they tell you, oh, we developed a COVID vaccine, you're like, I got a question. Right? Yeah. And we're the ones who are just like, no. And we're the 3%. And this is where it gets into Malcolm Gladwell, right? Where we're just such assholes. And so, what's the word? Disagreeable personality type with Jordan Peterson, that we start to make it 4%, 5%, 6%, 10%. And when it hits 10%, they fall like dominoes because most people just go with the flow, man. We're herd animals to a large extent.
Yeah, I saw that chart. INTJ is like 3% of the population, as you said. I want to say it's like 40% of Bitcoiners or something.
It's crazy.
It's an order of magnitude difference.
We go down. We'll have people on the podcast or on the not the podcast, the spaces. Take the test and tell us what you're on. They're like, yeah, ENTP, INTJ. It's a freakish amount. So then you go, okay, well maybe some people just aren't wired to receive this message. And then what do? It's frustrating because you want to get as many of your friends and family and people you care about, even people you don't even know. You want to get them in the lifeboat because to a large extent, we're very, Bitcoiners seem to be very perceptive and very intuitive and very, discerning. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people aren't. And they just think you're crazy. Now that's an advantage to us because we're in early. I got into Bitcoin in 2013. It's another story, but I just knew there was something different about that. And you guys know back then there was like nothing. I was looking for Andreas Antonopoulos and I'm trying to read the white paper, but I'm not a technical guy. I'm like, I kind of get it. But I knew that there were a lot of smart people who did get it. And I'm like, when's the last time all these smart people were like enthralled with something and it turned out to be bullshit? And I'm a pretty practical guy. So that's how I got in. And then, as time goes on, you're just constantly trying to pull in more knowledge and go further and further down the rabbit hole. But most people aren't like that.
I say something similar, that I reached a certain level of conviction in my own self-study. But then you're like, well, fuck, I don't know. That I just read a bunch of stuff and come to a conclusion that's wrong. Like, I don't really know. I just read a bunch of things and formed a conclusion.
Yeah.
But then when I would start going to these Bitcoin events and I would talk to these motherfuckers, these guys are all hyper intelligent, hyper nerd, all over the map in terms of entrepreneurship, lifestyle. Like, they're just very eclectic group, but all very smart, very entrepreneurial, very ethical largely.
Yes.
And very disagreeable. Like, all these guys, like, very kind of adversarial in their opinions, and they're all agreeing about one thing.
Yeah.
Like, very disagreeable group, but all in strong agreement about one thing. I was like, okay, this is a pretty strong point of consilience on Bitcoin. And
the majority is always wrong. Somebody told me that one time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's right. The majority is usually always wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun ride. It gets. I mean, you guys know it gets not tiring.
It does get tiring.
Well, you talk about the same thing over again, and you want to be on a level with other Bitcoiners talking about things that matter. And there's a bifurcation of Bitcoiners that I want to talk about, but and then you got to come back down to a very basic level over and over and over again. But that's kind of the service of Bitcoin, I think. As tiring as it might get, it's a noble endeavor. And the other thing is we're always trying to poke holes, just like a debrief I was talking about. We're always trying to poke holes in our thesis. Like, how can I be wrong? And that's another personality characteristic that's kind of rare. And I think that keeps us from, this whole thing about op return and everything. I dig that because we're always on the lookout for what could derail this thoroughly awesome thing. Because there are definitely attack vectors and we need to shut those off as best we can.
Are you concerned about op return at Core 30? I took my perspective. I got the most concerned I think I've been about Bitcoin in, I don't know, a long time. Yeah. When the whole thing around illicit imagery getting described on the blockchain. Like 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. I'm like, free market, JPEGs, monkeys, layer 2 people. It's like, it'll work itself out. But that kind of concerned me a little bit.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of conversations. We've had Mechanic and other people on the spaces talking about it. It is concerning. I know it's going to work itself out. I think a lot of people, a lot of very technical guys who are on the spectrum are of the opinion that, well, if you can do it, you should do it. And other guys are like, no, that we don't want to get down that road, because just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And like Jeff says all the time, Jeff Booth, you know, the Bitcoin trilemma, like the base layer needs to be preserved, because we have, you know, I think the trilemma is what? Scalability, decentralization, and security, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to pick two of those. You have to give on one. And obviously scalability on the first layer is what we gave up on for perfection, or as close to perfection as you can on the other two. And in the beginning of Bitcoin, I was a shitcoiner too. Like, I had Bitcoin, but I had all the other shitcoins, because I thought there was going to be Bitcoin. And then over here, there was going to be like this whole new creation of decentralized finance that was going to run on Bitcoin. But we had to rebuild the current system digitally over here. But then when you start realizing that not only is Bitcoin the money, but it's the protocol layer that you can build on top of. It's very similar to the internet, TCP/IP, and now you have Amazon and all the other companies that run on the internet. Bitcoin's that times 1,000. And you don't need these other things over here. You just need Bitcoin. I forget where I was going with that, but
I hope all the XRP and Ethereum and Solana and any of these individuals into that stuff take note to what you just said. That's like really valid.
He was asking about knots in Core 30, and just to like reinforce your point. Yeah, it's a great analogy that Bitcoin is the internet, and all of these other shit coins are intranets or companies.
Yep.
Like that's a really good distinction to make.
Yeah.
You know, that this thing is an internet protocol, not a company, not a leader. It's like a language that people are speaking online.
Yes.
Whereas all these other things are companies, effectively.
That's right. Companies, technologies, or in most cases, just scams, right?
Yeah.
So, and you don't have to. You can, you know, I'm talking to the guys at Simple Proof. They want to get into elections. They want to start putting kind of all information on the chain, and it's such small amount. I think it's like 31 bytes to put.
32. I talked to the guy after you linked me with him.
Right.
32
so you
bytes.
You can hash the information. You put it, you timestamp it. It takes almost no room. But then you can house the actual source material somewhere else, right? And it doesn't have to clog up the chain. I think that's the answer, because you do want, like, these guys are working on elections that can't be fraudulent, right? You do want to have a way to go back and make sure that, you know, people's votes are people's votes and all that. But you can't clog up that space on the chain, because you're going to sacrifice a lot, and it's just not worth it. And just because you can do it, I don't think we should do it. But I can't get into the technical aspect. And sometimes when these guys argue, it's like, okay, you lost me. I'm not quite sure. But, you know, I'm with Jeff Booth on that one. I heard Jeff talk about it, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then you guys had a guest here, I can't recall his name, talking about it a little bit, on all the development that can happen on layer 2 with Lightning and whatnot. And it's hard for us to see and imagine, because it's not here yet. But just like you couldn't see what the internet was in 92, I remember. I mean, hearing about it, but we can download a picture of a cat, and I don't even get it. And then it's like, oh shit, now I get it.
What's an email? I love that clip.
Right.
You know what an email is? To the news reporter. She's like, what's an email?
Yeah. So I don't know, that's where we are, and we'll figure this out too. But the good news is we have so many people who are hyper sensitive to it, hyper disagreeable. We're going to figure it out.